Good day, everyone. Jake here. Hope you're all doing incredibly well wherever you're tuning in from today. So, I was thinking about what we should chat about this week, and a topic just kept grabbing my attention. Something I reckon almost every single one of us struggles with, at least sometimes. And that topic is procrastination. Yeah, I know. Just hearing the word probably makes some of you feel a little squirmy, maybe even want to put off listening to this episode until tomorrow, right? Don't worry. You are absolutely 100% not alone in that feeling. I'm right there with you. Or at least I used to be. And I still have my moments, believe me. Have you ever had a task, something you know you need to do, something important, maybe even urgent, something that looms over you like a dark cloud, but for some reason you just can't start? Or you manage to begin, but then you get sidetracked by literally anything else. A notification on your phone, a sudden, inexplicable urge to clean out your dusty old junk drawer, or perhaps an intense, pressing need to research the historical significance of the spork. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. So today, we're going to talk about this incredibly sneaky and surprisingly powerful habit. We're going to dig deep into why we fall into the trap of procrastination, what it actually feels like to be caught in its grip, and most importantly, some seriously practical, no-nonsense ways to actually kick this thing to the curb for good. Because let's be brutally honest. Living with constant, pervasive procrastination is utterly exhausting. It's a constant source of stress. It creates this low, underlying hum of anxiety, doesn't it? That nagging, persistent feeling in the back of your mind that you should be doing something else, something important, something productive, while you're doing something completely trivial, something that offers only fleeting, shallow distraction. I've been there more times than I can count, trapped in that cycle, and through a lot of trial and error, a lot of hitting my head against the wall, I've learned a few things that have genuinely helped me break free, at least most of the time. And I honestly reckon they might help you too, just as much as they've helped me. So stick around, grab a cup of your favorite brew, settle in, and let's tackle this beast together. No putting it off until later. We're starting now. First off, let's strip away the surface-level stuff and talk about what procrastination actually is at its core. It's not simply laziness, even though that's the label we so often slap on ourselves when we're caught in its web. And we definitely beat ourselves up for it, don't we? That inner critic can be brutal. But procrastination is actually a far more complex phenomenon. It's the deliberate act of delaying or postponing a task or a set of tasks, knowing full well that there will be negative consequences. It's that frustrating, often painful gap between intending to do something and actually doing it. And it's driven by a whole bunch of underlying psychological stuff, a lot of which we're not even consciously aware of. More often than not, procrastination is actually an emotional regulation problem, not a time management one. Think about it. You know you have to do your taxes before the deadline, or finish that crucial report for work, or start studying for that massive, intimidating exam next week. You understand the logical steps involved in completing the task. You are fully aware of the negative consequences of not doing it. But still, despite all that rational knowledge, you put it off. Why? Because the task, in that specific moment, feels unpleasant. It might feel overwhelmingly huge, impossibly boring, incredibly difficult, intensely stressful. Or perhaps you're paralyzed by a deep-seated fear of failure. Or, ironically, even a fear of success and the expectations that might come with it. So your brain, being the incredibly clever but sometimes unhelpful organ it is, instinctively tries to protect you from those immediate, uncomfortable feelings. It does this by subtly suggesting you do something that feels good and easy right now, like mindlessly scrolling through social media, or watching just one more episode of that show you're binging, or playing another round of that game. It's all about instant gratification, right? That little hit of dopamine, that fleeting sense of pleasure or distraction. That's the insidious loop. It feels great, or at least tolerable in the moment, but then the heavy weight of guilt, regret, and compounded stress just piles up later. It's a self-defeating strategy.
I can tell you, I remember this one time vividly. I had a really big, really important presentation to prepare, like a really big one. It was for a new project proposal, something that could genuinely move the needle for my career, and it involved a lot of moving parts. I needed to gather a ton of complex data, create compelling and visually appealing slides, and then practice my delivery until it was absolutely perfect. And what did I do? Absolutely everything but that. Seriously, I went on a complete odyssey of avoidance. I started by meticulously organizing my desk, which somehow, inexplicably, led to me reorganizing my entire bookshelf, not just by genre, but by color. Then I decided it was absolutely crucial, an emergency even, to deep clean my kitchen cupboards, something that had been on my mental to-do list for months, but never seemed urgent until that moment. I even spent an hour and a half watching incredibly niche documentaries about obscure historical events, things that, while mildly interesting, had absolutely zero relevance to my life or my presentation. It was ridiculous. I knew, in the logical part of my brain, what I was supposed to be doing, but the mere thought of starting that big, complex, high-stakes presentation just felt heavy. It felt like standing at the base of a massive, impossibly steep mountain I had to climb, and my brain was screaming, let's just do something easy and instantly gratifying instead, anything but that. By the time I finally forced myself to sit down and begin, I had very little time left. The clock was ticking mercilessly, and the stress? Oh man, the stress was through the roof. I got it done, thankfully. I pulled an all-nighter, but it was nowhere near my best work, nowhere near the quality I knew I was capable of. And I remember vowing right then and there that I would never, ever put myself through that kind of self-inflicted torment again. Or at least, I'd try my absolute best, because it truly is a continuous battle, isn't it? It's a habit that tries to sneak back in. So the big question is, how do we break this insidious cycle? How do we stop giving in to that immediate urge for comfort and distraction and actually genuinely, consistently get things done? Let's talk about some real strategies. And I want to be clear right up front, these aren't magic bullets, okay? There's no instant cure. These are tools you can use, habits you can build, and like any new skill, whether it's learning a language or playing an instrument, they take consistent practice. You'll have good days and bad days, and that's perfectly fine. Number 1, stop waiting for motivation, create a system. Let's dismantle one of the biggest, most damaging lies we tell ourselves right now. I'll start when I feel motivated. That one simple sentence, that single, seemingly harmless thought has tragically ruined millions of dreams and left countless potentials unfulfilled. And here's the raw, unvarnished truth. Motivation is not coming. Not on demand, anyway. Motivation is not some magical, reliable force that just shows up on cue, taps you on the shoulder, and suddenly makes you productive. It's a feeling. And feelings, by their very nature, are fickle. They are unreliable. They are fleeting. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. and often they vanish right when you need them most. If your entire future, your deepest aspirations, your most important goals depend on waiting for the right feeling to arrive, then I'm telling you, your future is in serious, serious danger.
Let me explain how your brain fundamentally works. In the simplest terms, your brain, believe it or not, is not primarily built to chase goals, to seek discomfort, or to embrace delayed gratification. It's actually built to avoid pain and seek pleasure immediately. That means anytime a task feels uncomfortable, scary, overwhelming, boring, uncertain, or just plain hard, your brain's primal instinct will be to push you to delay it. That's why you can scroll through endless feeds on your phone for hours without blinking, but the mere thought of opening that book for your class or starting that challenging work project fills you with resistance. That's why you can watch 15 inspiring videos about success, self-improvement, and productivity, but you can't seem to muster the energy to work on your own. The truth, and this is a powerful one, is that you're not inherently lazy. You're not broken. You just don't have a system strong enough, a routine powerful enough to override your brain's natural, ingrained aversion to immediate discomfort. That's what truly successful people have figured out. They don't rely on the whimsical, unpredictable nature of motivation. They rely on robust, non-negotiable systems. Let me give you a perfect, real-world example of this principle in action. I heard about a student, let's call him Nick, who desperately wanted to study for 2 hours daily for his exams. But every single day he waited. He waited for the right time, the right mood, the perfect environment. He thought, once I feel like it, once everything aligns, then I'll start. And so days passed, then weeks, then months. Nothing changed. He was stuck in the loop until he made one simple, powerful rule. Every day, at exactly 7 a.m., he would sit at his desk for 30 minutes. That was it. No matter what, even if he didn't want to, even if he didn't study properly, even if he just sat there staring into space, he just had to sit down and show up. The first few days were hard, as expected. He admitted he didn't study much, but he followed the system. He kept showing up. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, it became automatic. He didn't need motivation anymore to sit down. He had a non-negotiable routine. That's the secret. Instead of asking yourself, how long should I work, or do I feel like working, start asking, when do I start, no matter what? Because when the start time becomes a habit, the work itself, the progress, naturally becomes a lifestyle. You don't need to feel inspired. You just need to show up. Even if you sit there and do nothing for the first 10 minutes, that's absolutely okay. The point is to teach your brain through consistent action that this is what we do now. Just like brushing your teeth, you don't wait to feel excited about oral hygiene to do it. You just do it. It's a non-negotiable part of your routine. You want to change your life? Start by making your actions non-negotiable. Not when you feel like it, not when you're ready, but when the clock hits the specific time you chose. Because waiting for motivation is like waiting for a huge downpour in a severe drought. It may come, it may not, but systems don't wait. Systems work even when you don't want them to. 2. Make the task too small to reject. Now let's tackle another core reason why we get stuck. Most people don't procrastinate because the task itself is inherently hard. They procrastinate because the task feels too big, too overwhelming, too daunting in their mind. And when something feels big, when it registers as a massive undertaking, your brain instinctively labels it as dangerous. Dangerous to your energy levels, dangerous to your comfort zone, dangerous to your ego. What if you fail? Dangerous to your precious peace of mind. So what does your brain do? It protects you in its own misguided way. It pushes the task away. It whispers tempting thoughts. Not now. Let's do it later. We're tired. We need to prepare more. It's too complex. But here's the harsh, raw truth. It's not protecting you. It's paralyzing you. Your brain, in its effort to conserve energy and avoid discomfort, would rather stay in a familiar, comfortable loop of guilt and inaction than risk doing something uncomfortable and new. That's why people endlessly keep saying, I want to start writing that book. I want to start exercising consistently. I want to start learning that new skill. But weeks pass, months disappear, and nothing happens because the perceived goal is too big, too intimidating, and the brain keeps raising flags of resistance. So, how do you break this paralyzing loop? You don't fight the resistance directly. That's like trying to wrestle a ghost. Instead, you make the task so laughably, ridiculously small that your brain has absolutely nothing to fight. Not just small, but ridiculously small. So small it feels almost stupid to do. So tiny it seems pointless to even bother. Why? Because that's precisely when your brain lowers its guard. That's when it lets you in. Let's say your goal is to write an article, a blog post, or a chapter of a book. Your brain immediately panics. Oh no, that's too much. It'll take hours. You're not ready. What if it's terrible? But what if your only task, your only commitment, is to open the document and write one sentence? That's it. Just one sentence. Now your brain goes, that's easy. Fine, I can do that. That's not a threat. And once you start, once you physically engage with the task, something magical often happens. You keep going because movement creates momentum. And momentum, my friends, is the deadliest weapon against procrastination. Let me give you a powerful real-world truth here. Some of the most successful authors, coders, artists, and creators in the world don't wait for massive, heroic sessions of 5 or 6 hours. They have one simple rule. Start with something you can't say no to, even if it's 2 minutes of work, even if it's one single sentence, even if it's just one push-up, even if it's merely opening the page, reading one line, and then closing it again. Because the immediate goal is not to finish. The immediate goal is to start without resistance. Over time, these silly little actions, these tiny sparks, grow into full-blown focus sessions, into hours of deep work, into completed projects. But you'll never get there if you keep expecting yourself to magically climb the whole mountain before you've even bothered lacing up your shoes. So here's what you do now. Break your biggest, most intimidating task into the smallest possible first step. Make it so small it feels almost pointless to do it. Then do it anyway. Why? Because this isn't just about achieving something immediately. It's about identity. Every single time you take action, even a minuscule one, you're proving to your brain, to your subconscious, I am someone who shows up. I am someone who begins. I am not scared of the first step. And that proof, that repeated evidence of action, slowly but surely becomes confidence. That confidence becomes consistency. And that consistency eventually becomes your powerful new lifestyle. So, if you're stuck, here's your new rule.
Don't ask, what do I have to do today? Instead, ask, what's the smallest, most ridiculously easy step I can take right now that I simply won't reject? Start there, and then watch how the floodgates of productivity begin to open.
3. Delete the option to escape. Now let's expose the next deep, uncomfortable truth about why you're stuck. You keep procrastinating because deep down, you always have a way out. You subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, tell yourself, if I don't do it now, I'll definitely do it later. If I get distracted for a bit, it's fine, I'll just catch up. If I fail, it's no big deal, I'll just reset tomorrow. But that, my friend, is the trap. Because when your brain knows there's a backup plan, a safety net, an easy out, it never truly takes the main plan seriously. It's like trying to stay faithful in a committed relationship, but always keeping another person on standby just in case. It completely kills the commitment. And that's what you've been doing, inadvertently, with your most important dreams and goals. You've been keeping your distractions incredibly close, within arm's reach. You've been constantly giving yourself soft exits, easy escape routes. And the worst part? You've been doing it in secret, often subconsciously, so that no one, not even you sometimes, truly realizes the extent to which you're avoiding the work. Let's get brutally, uncomfortably honest now. You keep your phone nearby while you're supposed to be working, constantly checking it. You keep your TV just a remote click away, tempting you with endless entertainment. You keep your social media apps logged in, ready to pull you into a scrolling vortex. You keep that YouTube tab open, just for a quick break that turns into an hour. You keep your notifications on, constantly interrupting your focus. And worst of all, you keep your excuses polished and ready, just in case someone asks why you haven't started. You're not just procrastinating, you're actively, painstakingly building an environment where failure is not just easy, it's the path of least resistance. So if you're genuinely serious about breaking free from this, you need to ruthlessly destroy your escape routes. You need to create a world, a personal ecosystem where doing the task is not a choice you might make, it's the only path forward. Here's how you do that. Turn your phone off completely. Not just silent, but off. Place it in another room, out of sight. Block access to distracting websites with a dedicated app or browser extension during your work blocks. Remove all entertainment devices, books, magazines, or anything that can pull your attention away from your immediate workspace. Put yourself in a public or structured place where slacking off is almost impossible, like a quiet library, a co-working space, or even a focused corner of a quiet cafe. Tell someone trustworthy what you're working on and promise them tangible proof when it's done. Why? Because when there's no way out, when all the escape routes are burned, your brain, resourceful as it is, finds a way through. It has no other option. Let me give you a harsh but incredibly powerful historical example. There's a psychological phenomenon often referred to as the burning bridge effect. It comes from ancient military strategy. When a commander, leading an army into enemy territory, removes all options for retreat by, say, burning the boats they arrived in or destroying the bridges behind them, the soldiers become unstoppable. They know there's no plan B. They either conquer or they die trying. And that's what gives them an almost supernatural strength to fight harder than ever before. That's the same mindset you need to cultivate, because as long as your distractions are nearby, as long as you have a later, as long as failure feels safe and consequence-free, you'll keep running. You'll keep avoiding. But the moment you burn the boats, the moment you strategically destroy your escape routes, your commitment becomes real. It becomes non-negotiable.
So here's your challenge right now, not later. Identify one escape route you frequently use. Block that app. Turn off that device. Announce your goal to someone. Remove your biggest excuse. Do it. And then watch how serious your brain becomes. Because without an exit, your only direction is forward.
4. Rewire the voice inside your head. Let me ask you something a bit uncomfortable, but deeply honest. What do you call yourself when no one else is listening? When you fail to finish something? When you waste another precious day scrolling aimlessly? When you miss another crucial deadline? What does that inner voice, that relentless critic inside your head say? Does it whisper, or perhaps scream, things like, "I'm such a loser, I'm so lazy, I'll never change. What is fundamentally wrong with me?" If any of that sounds familiar, then I need you to stop right here. Take a deep breath and truly absorb this next truth. You are not a procrastinator. You are someone who has been tricked through years of repetition and self-talk into believing that you are. And that deeply ingrained belief has slowly, insidiously become your identity. You've repeated it so many times, perhaps unknowingly, that your brain has accepted it as a fundamental fact about who you are. It's no longer just something you do, it's become who you are. That's why genuine, lasting change feels almost impossible. Because you're not just fighting a superficial habit, you're fighting your very own self-image. You're trying to act like a focused, productive, disciplined person while still, on the inside, in your own private thoughts, calling yourself lazy, unmotivated, and incapable. That's like trying to swim a marathon with an anchor tied securely to your leg. It's an impossible task. You will never fundamentally change your behavior until you fundamentally change what you believe about yourself. Let me explain exactly how this works in the simplest, most direct way. Every single time you repeat a phrase, whether out loud or silently in your head, your incredibly powerful brain listens. And not only does it listen, but it immediately starts collecting evidence to support that phrase. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm a mess, I can't finish anything, I always give up," your brain, being a dutiful servant, will diligently start showing you memories and interpreting current situations in a way that proves it. See, you never completed that online course you started. Remember how you abandoned your morning routine after 3 days? Look at that to-do list from last month, still empty, just like you predicted. But here's what no one tells you. Your brain is not showing you an objective truth. It's showing you what it has been told to find. If you tell it you're lazy, it finds laziness everywhere. If you tell it you're undisciplined, it finds proof of indiscipline. If you say, "I always give up," it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But what happens? What truly happens if you start telling it something different? What happens if you deliberately, consciously begin saying, "I am someone who finishes what they start. I follow through on my commitments. I may move slow sometimes, but I always move. I take action even when I don't feel like it. I no longer identify as a procrastinator. That's a past version of me." At first, I won't lie to you, it feels like a lie. It feels fake. You won't believe it initially. Your brain will probably scream, "That's not true. Look at all the evidence." But you say it anyway. You say it every single day. You write it down, you speak it into mirrors, you repeat it before you start working, you whisper it to yourself before sleeping. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, your brain starts to shift. Because repetition creates belief. Belief creates identity, and identity, my friends, creates behavior. You don't magically rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. If your deep-seated identity is, "I always quit," you will inevitably always quit.
But if your core identity becomes, I keep showing up even on bad days, even when it's hard, even when no one claps, even when I don't feel like it, then guess what? You win. Not because you suddenly became perfect, but because you stopped letting your past failures control your current label and your future actions. So here's your next powerful action. Every single time you catch yourself saying something self-destructive, either out loud or in your head, stop immediately. Interrupt that negative pattern. Say out loud firmly, "That's not who I am anymore." Then immediately speak a new truth. Speak an empowering truth, one that you desperately want to live into, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Because if you say it enough, if you infuse it with enough intention and repetition, you will become it. That's how you fundamentally rewire procrastination from the inside out, not just through superficial behavior changes, but through a profound shift in your very identity.
5. Let discomfort become your normal. Here is one of the most painful yet ultimately powerful truths you'll ever hear about procrastination and about life. You don't genuinely fear the task itself, you fear the feeling that comes with it. It's not the difficult email you're avoiding sending, it's the anxiety it triggers, the potential for an uncomfortable response. It's not the gym you're skipping, it's the initial soreness, the effort, the feeling of being out of breath, maybe even a tiny bit of embarrassment if you're new. It's not the homework you're putting off. It's the mental friction of starting, the struggle of understanding complex concepts. It's not the writing you're delaying, it's the insidious voice saying it won't be good enough, the fear of judgment. In short, you procrastinate to escape discomfort. And it makes perfect evolutionary sense because your brain is fundamentally built for survival, not necessarily for thriving or success. And survival, from an ancient perspective, means to avoid what feels uncomfortable or potentially threatening. But here's where things get incredibly dangerous in the modern world. The more you avoid discomfort, the more powerful and intimidating it becomes. Every single time you skip something hard, every single time you choose the easy path, you inadvertently train your brain to fear it more. You strengthen the insidious lie that whispers, "If it doesn't feel easy, it's not meant for me. If I'm uncomfortable, I should stop. If it's painful, I should delay it." And this, my friends, is how countless people waste their entire lives. They wait for things to feel good before doing them. They only act when it's convenient. They only push themselves when they're feeling inspired and energized. But I'm telling you, nothing truly great in life is ever born from comfort. The successful business, the published book, the hard-earned degree, the profound personal transformation, the physical fitness, the deep relationships. It all comes from consistently doing the thing you don't want to do again and again and again until it transforms you, until it becomes who you are. So, how do you stop running from discomfort? You stop treating it like a fearsome enemy you must evade, and you start, deliberately, consciously, making it your normal. Here's how you start. Every single day, choose one uncomfortable action on purpose. Don't wait for discomfort to find you. Go actively find it. Walk directly toward the discomfort, not around it. Examples. If you're terrified to make a difficult phone call, make it the very first thing in the morning. Get it out of the way. If you absolutely hate waking up early, commit to doing it
every day for 30 days, just to prove you can. If you avoid confrontation and difficult conversations, have one honest conversation today, gently but firmly. If you fear starting a big task, set a timer for just 5 minutes and begin, without thinking, without judging. The point isn't to finish anything big initially. The point is to retrain your brain. You are teaching it this new, empowering rule. Discomfort is safe. Discomfort is welcome. Discomfort is where growth happens. Discomfort is my new normal. Over time, the hard things that once felt impossible stop feeling so hard. Not because they magically got easier, but because you became immeasurably stronger. This is what fundamentally separates winners from dreamers. Winners are not fearless. They're just more comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is the mindset you need to adopt right now. Stop seeking ease. Stop chasing comfort. Stop waiting for perfect moments. Walk into the fire. Sit in the tension. Breathe through the resistance. Because every single second you survive discomfort, you gain immense power over procrastination. And soon, you'll stop saying, "I can't do this," and start saying, with unwavering conviction, "I do hard things, and that's precisely why I succeed."
6. You don't need more time. You need more truth. Let's confront and utterly destroy one of the biggest, most pervasive lies we tell ourselves and others right now. People constantly say, "I don't have time, I really want to do it, but I'm just too busy. When I get some free time, I'll definitely start." That sounds incredibly reasonable, doesn't it? It's a perfectly acceptable excuse in our busy modern world. But let's be brutally, painfully honest. Time is not the problem. You have time. You have the exact same 24 hours in a day as every single successful person on this planet. The billionaires, the athletes, the artists, the leaders. You have the same number of minutes as the person who's already doing what you're dreaming about. You have the same mornings, the same nights, the same calendar. What you truly lack is not time. What you lack is raw, uncomfortable truth. The truth that you're not effectively using the time you already have. The truth that you're consistently choosing distraction over discipline. The truth that you're escaping into things that make you feel busy, but in reality, they keep you broke, stuck, tired, and deeply unfulfilled. You don't need 4 more hours in your day. You need 4 seconds of raw, unflinching honesty with yourself. The kind of honesty that says, "I'm spending 3 hours a day mindlessly consuming content online, but I'm constantly complaining I have no time to create my own. I'm spending more time watching other people live their dreams than I am working on mine. I scroll, I binge, I endlessly distract myself, and I call it rest or relaxing when it's really just avoidance, a sophisticated form of self-sabotage." And this truth, it may hurt, because truth always hurts before it heals. But without truth, without that clear, painful mirror, there can be no genuine transformation. So here's a simple shift that changes absolutely everything. Stop measuring your life in hours. Start measuring it in intentions and actions. Because the real question isn't, how much time do I have? The real question is, what am I doing with the time I do have that actually moves my life forward even by an inch? You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need a full day off work. You don't need a perfectly quiet house, an empty inbox, or a break from all your responsibilities. You need to take the 10 minutes you do have, that tiny, precious sliver of time, and use them to make something better. Something real, something productive, rather than just spinning another excuse. People constantly say, "I work 10 hours a day, I'm exhausted, I can't focus." But do you really want to know the deeper truth?
You're often not tired from working too much. You're tired from wasting the little time you do have and then carrying the heavy guilt of that waste all day long. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, is more exhausting than knowing you could have done better and you didn't. You want your energy back? Start using your time wisely, with intention, and watch how light, how energized, how alive you begin to feel. Because procrastination is a heavy, draining weight, but progress, even tiny, seemingly insignificant progress, gives you life. It fuels you. So here's your challenge. Right now, grab a pen and paper. Write down this question and answer it honestly every single morning. What is one thing I can do today, even if it takes just 5 minutes, that moves me forward towards my biggest goal? That's it. No more lies about time, no more hiding behind your busy schedule. The truth is, you do have time. Now it's your choice to continue to waste it or to finally wake up and claim it.
7. Action first, feeling second. One of the biggest, most deeply ingrained reasons you procrastinate, and frankly, why most people remain stuck, is because you've been trained to believe a truly dangerous lie. That lie is, I have to feel like it before I can do it. You genuinely believe you need to feel inspired before you can start writing. You believe you need to feel confident before you can speak up or present. You believe you need to feel motivated before you can start moving your body or tackling a tough task. But here's the game-changing truth that will fundamentally alter your approach to everything. Feelings don't come first. Action comes first. And this is the trap that catches so many. If you constantly wait for the right feeling to arrive before taking action, you might never move. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Why? Because your brain, as we discussed, always favors comfort, pleasure, and the path of least resistance. And comfort rarely, if ever, feels like effort, struggle, or growth. So your feelings will consistently tell you to stay in bed, to scroll a little longer, to start tomorrow, to do something easier first. They will whisper sweet, deceptive promises of future comfort. But you cannot, absolutely cannot, build your future, your dreams, your potential based on how you feel in any given moment. Because feelings are like the weather. They change constantly. They are unreliable. They are unstable. One moment you're motivated, the next you're not. But your dreams, your long-term goals, your deepest aspirations, they need consistency. They need structure. They need relentless movement. Especially when you feel absolutely nothing, when the motivation is completely gone. Let's go even deeper into this. Every time you say, I don't feel like it, what you're really saying, perhaps unconsciously, is, I want to act based on emotion, not intention. And this, my friends, is precisely how you lose. You feel tired, so you skip the work. You feel insecure, so you delay the project. You feel overwhelmed, so you avoid the task. And every single time you do that, you reinforce a deeply damaging belief in your brain. Discomfort means stop. Negative feelings mean retreat. But truly successful people, the ones who get things done and build incredible lives, they've trained their minds with the exact opposite rule. For them, discomfort means go. Confusion means start. Fear means take the first step. They don't act because they feel ready or motivated. They act and then they start feeling ready. Because the feeling doesn't lead the action. The action, no matter how small or imperfect, creates the feeling. Think about it. You don't feel motivated to write that difficult report until you've already written a few sentences, until you've started to build momentum. You don't feel like working out until you've pushed through the first 10 minutes of effort. You don't feel confident enough to speak in public until you actually start speaking and find your voice.
that first push, that first step, no matter how awkward, small, or slow, creates emotional momentum. And suddenly, what felt impossible becomes doable. What felt heavy feels lighter. What felt scary starts to make sense. So, here's your new non-negotiable rule. Never ask yourself, do I feel like it? Instead, ask, what would the best, most disciplined version of me do right now, in this exact moment? And then do that. Even if it's messy, even if it's slow, even if it feels empty and forced at first. Because when you stop waiting for permission from your fleeting emotions, you finally gain genuine, lasting power over your life. And that is what utterly destroys procrastination. Not more tips, not more tricks, not more hacks, but the courageous decision to act even when your feelings beg you not to. Remember, you don't need to feel like it. You need to become the kind of person who moves anyway. That's how you consistently win. 8. Discipline isn't a trait. It's a decision. Here's one of the most dangerous, yet widely accepted beliefs in the world. It goes like this. Some people are just naturally disciplined. You look at someone who wakes up early every single day, works hard consistently, exercises without fail, creates, studies, writes, grows, and builds amazing things. And your internal narrative might tell you, they were born that way. They're built differently. They must have some inherent gift or quality that I don't possess. But that, my friends, is a fundamental lie. A comforting lie, perhaps, but a lie nonetheless. A lie cleverly designed to make you feel safe, comfortable, and justified in your own inaction. Because the truth is far harsher and infinitely more powerful. No one is born disciplined. Discipline is not a gift you either have or don't have. It's not a trait. It's a decision. And it's not made just once. It's made every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, in the face of comfort and resistance. Let's go even deeper into this. You procrastinate not because you lack ability or time or talent or intelligence. You procrastinate because you haven't consistently trained yourself to choose discipline when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it's hard. That's it. Discipline, at its core, is simply doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, even when you absolutely don't feel like doing it. Not just once, not twice, but again and again and again, consistently, relentlessly, until your brain learns that comfort is no longer your master. It's no longer the supreme ruler of your actions. But here's the pervasive problem that keeps so many people stuck. Most people wait to feel disciplined before they act disciplined. And that's precisely why they stay stuck in the same old patterns. They think, once I miraculously build the habit, I'll automatically be consistent. Once I feel motivated, I'll get serious. Once I get into a perfect rhythm, I'll be unstoppable. But life, real life, doesn't work like that. You don't become disciplined after taking action. You become disciplined through taking action. Even on day one, when you have no idea what you're doing. Even when you feel weak, lazy, tired, scared, and full of doubt. That's precisely when discipline matters most. That's when the decision counts. And here's something people rarely say out loud. Discipline often feels boring. Discipline often feels hard. Discipline often feels repetitive and thankless. But discipline, paradoxically, is what builds true freedom. The freedom to live a life without constant guilt. The freedom to genuinely respect yourself again. The freedom to build a life you're truly proud of. A life that aligns with your highest potential. But that profound freedom has a price. And the currency, the daily payment required, is daily decisions to choose discipline over ease.
So, how do you build this kind of unwavering discipline? You start small, yes, but more importantly, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking yourself, do I feel like it today? Should I skip it just this once? Isn't there a shortcut? Can't I just delay? You make your plan, you set your system, and then you follow it like it's an unbreakable law. You don't wait for clarity, you create it through action. You don't wait for energy, you show up without it and find it in the doing. You don't wait to feel strong, you move while feeling weak, and you grow stronger through the very process of pushing through. Here's the new identity you absolutely must adopt. I am a disciplined person. Not because it's easy for you, not because you're naturally inclined, but precisely because you choose what's hard when it matters most. And you repeat that identity. You reaffirm that belief even when you fail, even when you stumble. Because discipline isn't about perfection. It's about returning over and over and over again, even when your old, comfortable self tells you to quit, to rest, to delay. You're not lacking discipline as some inherent quality. You're simply lacking the consistent decision to build it. And now that you see it clearly, now that the truth is laid bare, there's no excuse left. So decide, every single day, without exception, because discipline doesn't belong to the gifted, it belongs to the committed. 9. Procrastination grows in silence, so speak your goals out loud. Let's talk about something deeper now, something most people never truly realize, something that gives procrastination its immense, sneaky power. The primary reason your procrastination feels so incredibly powerful, so hard to shake, is because for the most part, no one knows about it but you. Your deepest goals are private. Your secret habits of avoidance are hidden. Your grand plans are locked away inside the confines of your own mind. And that, my friends, gives procrastination a perfect, fertile place to grow, to fester, to flourish in the dark. Because what no one sees, you can easily delay without consequence. What no one expects, you can silently abandon without accountability. What no one tracks, you can conveniently ignore, telling yourself you'll get to it someday. And this is where so many people lose the battle against themselves. Not because they don't genuinely care about their goals, but because they never gave their goals a voice. They never dragged them out of the shadows and into the light of public awareness. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Imagine you promise yourself, I'll start waking up early from tomorrow. Seriously, this time I mean it. You think it, you feel it, you believe it in that moment of inspiration, but you tell no one. You write it nowhere visible. You share no proof of your intention. It's a private deal, a secret pact between you and your silence. Now guess what? When tomorrow comes and that alarm goes off and you don't wake up early, there's no consequence, no external accountability, no pressure. No one knows, no one cares except that quiet, nagging voice of self-disappointment. That's the secret your brain loves. The ability to fail in secret, to relapse again and again without ever being exposed, without anyone seeing your inconsistency.
But the moment you bring your goal into the world, the moment you give it a voice, everything fundamentally changes. When you say it out loud, when you write it down publicly, when you tell someone who will genuinely check on you, you literally take your goal out of the shadows and drag it, kicking and screaming perhaps, into the harsh light of reality. And in that light, procrastination has nowhere left to hide. This is called external accountability, and it's one of the most powerful forces for consistent behavior change ever discovered. Not because people will judge you harshly, though a little bit of that can be a good motivator, but because you will now automatically hold yourself to a much higher standard. Because now your word means something beyond your own internal monologue. Now your integrity is on the line. Now there's actual, tangible weight behind your intentions. This is precisely why you see some people suddenly start showing up consistently after they make a public commitment. They start a YouTube channel announcing their journey. They post daily progress updates online for their community to see. They tell a trusted friend or family member to check on them every day. They hire a coach. They promise a group of peers they'll deliver something by a certain date. They make their procrastination, their potential for failure, undeniably visible. And that visibility makes it infinitely harder to repeat those old patterns. Because now, if they quit, someone will know. And that pressure, that healthy tension, that feeling of being seen and expected to deliver, that's what drives action when comfort fails, when motivation vanishes. So here's your challenge. Speak your goal. Write your commitment down, somewhere visible to others. Tell someone your plan. Create real, tangible accountability for yourself. Make it real. Make it known. Make it matter to someone else. Because procrastination thrives and survives in silence, in the dark corners of your mind. But consistent action, real progress, grows exponentially in the presence of expectation. From this point on, you don't just carry your dreams inside your head. You carry them out into the world, and you let your voice become a powerful contract, a binding agreement with yourself and others. Because once you speak it, once you make it known, you can no longer conveniently ignore it.
10. Let regret scare you more than effort. Let's stop pretending that procrastination is just some minor bad habit, a quirky character flaw. Let's stop calling it laziness, as if that simple word explains away its destructive power. Let's stop saying, "I'll do it tomorrow," like that's not a dangerous, life-altering sentence, because it is. Every single time you delay what truly matters, every single time you put off unlocking your full potential, every single time you choose fleeting distraction over meaningful direction, you are not just wasting time. You are actively, brick by brick, building a life you will eventually regret. That's the raw truth no one tells you often enough.
You think the cost of procrastination is small. You think it's just a missed task, a lost hour, an undone item on a to-do list that you can always catch up on. But it's not. The real, devastating cost of procrastination, the silent horror, is your dream dying slowly, agonizingly, while you constantly lie to yourself that you'll start someday. And that someday never comes, because it's always later. And when later eventually becomes years, and those years become your entire life, you finally look back, often with a pang of deep soul-crushing regret, and realize it's all gone. Not just the precious time, but the confidence you could have built, the ambition that flickered and died, the burning fire you once had, the undeniable chance to become the person you could have been. And that is the most painful truth of all. Most people, and this is a hard pill to swallow, won't fail because they bravely tried and lost. Most people will fail because they never even started. They'll spend their whole life thinking they're not ready yet. They'll wait endlessly for clarity, for a burst of energy, for a wave of inspiration, for someone's permission, for a surge of motivation. They'll constantly tell themselves, one day I'll change, one day I'll finally do it. But they won't, because they never truly feared regret more than they feared effort. They genuinely thought working hard would be painful. They thought starting something new would be stressful. They thought failure would hurt, and maybe it would for a moment. But they never truly imagined, never truly felt how much worse it would feel to stand at the edge of life at 60, 70, 80 years old, looking back and having to say, I could have been more. I could have done so much, but I never gave myself the chance. Not because they weren't smart enough, not because they weren't capable enough, not because they lacked opportunities, but because they let fear, distraction, self-doubt, and the quiet comfort of laziness run their lives, silently, until it was too late. So today, right now, I am asking you one final crucial question. What are you truly more afraid of? The immediate, fleeting pain of starting, when it's uncomfortable, when you don't feel like it, when you're not sure you'll succeed? Or the deep, persistent, soul-crushing pain of looking back one day knowing you never even tried, knowing you never gave your true potential a chance? Because effort lasts minutes or hours or even a few years, but regret, real regret, lasts a lifetime. That moment you push through the initial resistance, it might take just 10 seconds of raw courage. That uncomfortable hour of focused work, it might feel hard today, but 5 years from now, you will thank yourself profoundly for every single second you chose progress over excuses. And 5 years from now, you will hate yourself, truly and deeply, for every single second you knew what to do, knew what was important, and chose not to do it.
So here's what you must do now. Stop romanticizing tomorrow. Stop treating it like a magical land where everything will be easier. Start fearing regret more than you fear discomfort. Start remembering deeply that the life you want, the person you want to become, is not given to you. It is built. And that the builder, the architect, the laborer is you. Not someday, not maybe, not later. It's you right now, because time will not wait. Life will not slow down for your hesitation. And your potential, as incredible as it is not infinite. You get one precious life. And the true tragedy isn't that it ends. The profound tragedy is that most people never truly live it fully, never unleash their full potential, because they kept pressing later until there was nothing left to press. You don't need more advice.
You don't need more time. You don't need more complex plans. You need one thing: a clear, unwavering decision to stop betraying your future self, to stop waiting for the perfect moment, to stop carrying the suffocating guilt of potential unused. The clock is running, and now so must you. You've heard every step, every truth. These aren't just tips. These aren't just tricks. These aren't just hacks. These are real, raw truths about why you've been stuck, why that chain of procrastination has held you back, and how to finally, definitively move forward. This wasn't just a podcast episode. It was a reset. It was a mirror held up to your soul. It was the voice that no one else has been honest enough to say to you. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not incapable. You're just late to the war against that insidious voice in your head that keeps whispering, "Not yet." But now, that voice has met something stronger. It has met your decision. From this moment forward, you don't wait for permission. You don't beg the universe to give you another chance. You don't wish for discipline. You become it. You don't wonder what could have been. You build what can still be. And if you fall again, so what? Everyone does. Stand up, learn, begin again, but never, ever stop. You're not just chasing a goal anymore. You're chasing who you were truly meant to be. And that pursuit, that incredibly important journey, begins. Not tomorrow, not later, not when the time feels right. It begins right now. If this episode woke something up inside you, if it reminded you of who you really are and what you're capable of, then make sure you subscribe. Because we're not just here to scroll through life. We're here to rise. We're here to change. We're here to win. God bless you.
All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment telling us what kind of topics you'd like to see covered here on the channel. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.